welcome to the latest edition of the Callisto Grand Partner Spotlight. Today it's my pleasure to welcome Gábor Kőrös. So perhaps we can start, Gábor, with a little bit an introduction about yourself and kind of how we got to this point today.
Yeah. Hi, Mark. Hi, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity. So my name is Gábor Kőrös, as Mark said. Currently, I work for Serrala as a product manager. I'm responsible for our accounts receivable cloud services, and I'm based in the Netherlands. I originally started my career in shared service centers in Eastern Europe, in Budapest, Hungary specifically. Um, and yeah, now I have the chance to use all the knowledge that I gathered in operations as a previous customer of these products, so to say, to actually help develop them.
And do you, as an interesting career path, do you find that important that you had all that operational experience and now you're over on the tech product development side?
Yeah, definitely. And it's also not a coincidence. So I was planning to do this when I was building my career. When I first started to work in order to cash, I was a cash collection clerk, a junior. They're doing some work in customer service and sales. And I'm more of a generalist, which I think is a very good match for being a product manager. So when I started to, work in the front line of cash collection to learn more about it, I already knew that I want to diversify my knowledge, and I think the synergies between the fields in order to cash is very strong. So that's when I figured out, let's make a career where I actually transition between these areas. Cash collection is definitely my strongest suit, I would say. I spend the most time there. I also had the chance to build a few teams in cash collection, and on occasion I worked with credit as well. Then I managed to work with invoice delivery, so there was quite a lot of opportunities there. Also delved into internal reporting, analytics. We tried to do our own cash flow prediction in Excel before automation was so widespread, or before we had AI like we have today. And after this, I was approached by a previous colleague that he has a project manager opportunity in cash application, and I was so happy because I was like, I can also cross off cash application now, so that's great. Um, and we delivered that project successfully, and then I decided that I think it's now time to move on to the development side and to work with product. So I went to first I started off as a operations manager in Serrala for one of our cloud products, which is still in my portfolio, but now I'm working as a product manager for the cloud services.
Interesting career path, and I think you're right when you say that having that operational experience and all of it, not just one aspect, not just collections, but pretty well the whole kind of end to end there from we said from invoicing through to cash allocation, from what you're doing now, that must give you a much more holistic view of whatever it is you're developing product wise, how it all fits into the greater scheme of things.
Yeah, indeed. And yeah, as a previous user, I also know I have an idea. It's very dangerous to say I know what the customers want. Um, but I do have an idea. I do know what is important. I understand why those metrics like DSO, payment on time, best possible DSO, why those are so important for the teams. And lots of pain points have been coming, back over the years. So lots of the problems are actually the same that have to be solved.
And it is very reassuring from a from where you are now that when you're talking to clients you can say I've actually sat in your chair, so I do know what I do understand, like you said, your pain points and your objectives and your measures and so on. Okay, so focusing now on Serrala. So you said that you're based in the Netherlands. Um, Serrala, if I recall, head office is in Hamburg, in
Yep.
Germany, right? And you global organization or just focused on Europe?
No, we are global. So I myself work with development teams from three separate continents to develop these amazing products and to fine tune them. And I think, being more efficient and the need for automation is a universal need. So we do have that globally, but we also tackle regional problems. There are regional challenges, for example, in cash application or payment service provider reconciliation that we do. Um, yeah, the closest office to me is definitely in the Netherlands, in Amstelveen, which is next to Amsterdam. So I can go there and collaborate in person with colleagues or just mingle with them. But we also have offices, for example, in Chicago, in or in Pune, India, or as you said, Hamburg. That's our headquarters.
Okay, so interesting. You have an office in Pune as well. That's interesting to know. Um, so from the point of view that, so yeah, from Serrala, so what would you say is your USP? It's a very competitive world you're in. What would you say is a Serrala USP?
Well, we were funded 40 years ago. I was actually at our 40th birthday party, which I think is insane for a company in this, in this industry. And it is a, it used to be a family-owned company. It grew up with the needs of the customers and financial teams across the globe. So we do have this very strong heritage. We have these principles of quality and precision that we brought with ourselves. But then we also, of course, work with the most cutting edge high tech stuff like AI, which is very important to us. Um, and we deliver accounts receivable, accounts payable, payments, treasury. So I think that is a very much differentiator in the market that we can kind of give you everything that you need. And clients are looking for end-to-end providers nowadays. So that's one of the trends in the market. And it's also important that we try to make automation in a way that we adapt to you and not expecting the client to adapt to us.
That's a very valid point, actually. And there's a couple of things there. One, so you're basically working capital managers. You said AR and AP, so both. So and then the treasury, which captures, of course, the impacts and the outputs of those. Um, and yeah, the company started as Hans Orger, right,
Yeah.
40 years ago, which I remember because I actually signed a contract when I was employed. I actually signed a contract with Hans Orger, so it was about best part of 20 years ago. So I remember the transition to Serrala and so on. Yeah. So um, any particular ERP specialization, or is it more across the board?
Well, we did start off as an SAP specialist, I would say, but now we are focusing on being ERP agnostic. Of course, we are still using our vast expertise of SAP and S/4HANA to the benefit of our clients, especially for me because I'm working with the cloud services. Those are my products, ERP agnostic. That's my specialty.
So that means it's across all ERPs, yeah, which I certainly think is important because a lot of sort of companies we work with, and I'm sure you do, have many different instances of SAP, and even SAP Oracle and other legacy systems. So you could basically sort of sit on top of those, and everything could be mapped up into Serala.
Yeah, because these services exist in the cloud. They are ERP agnostic, but we can, support the client. Doesn't really matter where they are in this digital journey from on-prem to cloud, because we do offer SAP on-prem services as well. We offer these cloud services, which are the ERP agnostic ones I just mentioned, and then we can also offer hybrid. And actually, this is also quite unique on the market, I would say.
Yeah, and I think that certainly where we are now in the technology world, because everything's moving so fast, isn't it? That and with the advancement of like more global business services, GBS, which literally means that. So to be able to bring all these things together into one solution is definitely an advantage. So having said that, so what's your particular kind of clients that you work with? I mean, obviously you don't have to name them, but what kind of, is there any particular industry sector or any specialization?
Well, Serrala's clients are mostly large enterprises which are active globally. We do also have some medium-sized companies, lots of industries, so automotive, production, utilities, commerce, resale, fashion, you name it. So finance, of course. So we work with lots of clients, which is also what again makes this job very interesting to me because I'm a curious person, so I really like this role. I have the chance to speak with people from all of these industries, different roles like project managers or subject matter experts, trying to find the challenge that they have and to bring them, the solution that they need to get over that challenge.
And yeah, and it's quite varied, isn't it? You said like you go from, I don't know, automotive to FMCG or something, which high volumes, not so high volumes in terms of invoicing and so on. So yeah, a lot of a lot of variety there. Um, in our from our perspective, we've seen like there's been an upsurge in demand for technology in the last couple of years, right? AI is the kind of the cool and trendy phrase right now. Um, but what did you find are actually what are the drivers that are having clients or potential clients coming to Serrala and saying we want X, Y, and Z? So what products do they want, and what are the real kind of perhaps economic drivers that are raising the inquiries?
Mhm. Yeah, very good question. Well, there's always competition, right? So everyone wants to be more effective, and more efficient, so they can provide better and cheaper services to their clients. That's always there. The drive for making your working capital usage more efficient, decreasing your DSO, accelerating your cash collection processes. These are always there on the market for all the players. And as you rightfully said a bit earlier, the global business is speeding up, so you really don't want to be left behind. You
Hmm.
need to keep up with the pack, so to say, or even to lead it, uh, preferably. So that's one thing. Then we have definitely the AI adoption. It's a very strong drive right now, and we at Serrala we embraced not to observe this but to participate in this, right? So we have this AI first mentality that we bring to the table whenever there's a challenge we face. First, we ask how to solve this with AI. Do we want to solve this with AI? When we start working on a new product, it's always AI first in our mind. So I think that's the future of product development anyway, that these products have to be able to exist in an AI ecosystem to provide integration abilities for AI agent systems and alike. So that's there. And with AI, we have also these predictive analytics. It basically ties back to the same how to be more efficient and more competitive kind of things. Mm. And I think I already mentioned this, but being a sole provider is very sought after. So that's why we also introduced the vision of our Serrala Finance platform a bit earlier this year, where that's like a plug and play AI-driven cloud, um, where our clients can get all these accounts receivable, accounts payable, treasury, and payment solutions, and all the cloud service add-ons that we have. Because of course this also has a cost, right? When you are switching between suppliers and your users have to switch between software, etc. These are also costs that you can drive down.
Hmm.
So yeah, and also the economy in general, I think, is very competitive nowadays, right? So you again have to be very competitive yourself.
Yeah, I think um, so working with a number of service providers such as yourselves, the key drivers really seem to be the fact that there are now interest rates have been going up this decade, right? Which in the previous decade they weren't. So cost of borrowing and so on was really neither here nor there. Now, of course, it's a very different. So if you got a high volume of overdues, there's now a real economic cost with that, right? Profit margins are eroded very quickly. And I think I guess that's what you were alluding to when you were saying about efficiencies and so on. It's not just about doing things quicker, but there's actual a real monetary cost now to
Yes,
having your money in your bank rather than somebody else's, right? And I think that's the real catalyst that's come about this decade, right? Which is great for us because that's what we kind of advise uh, companies on, is to make sure you get paid whatever the economic situation is because you never know when it's going to change, right? And this decade
indeed.
has been particularly disruptive since COVID and all the other things that have happened are continuing to happen in this decade. We've now got tariffs and things as well, which is a fairly new, uh, a much higher profile innovation, shall we say? So that's having quite an impact on the number of companies too, isn't it? So, and just staying with the AI side, which obviously is the big hot topic right now. What's your kind of interpretation of AI from the point of view of Serrala? Is it all kind of just so you got the agentic side? Is that part of what you're doing, right?
Yes. So we have the agentic side, definitely. Um, I think we have to make sure we build with AI in mind. We keep up with the AI developments, which is not an easy task to do, such a quickly developing area as well. We use AI internally. I use AI myself as well in my daily job.
Mm,
So we also have products. I also have products which already use AI live. So, for example, we have Logbox enrichment. In the US, there are still lots of check payments coming in, and machine learning can help us enrich the check image data with remittance data. And that output can be then fed into our cash application software to enable automatic and fast cash applications. For example, that's something we already can do. I'm very conscious about AI, and we are very conscious about AI as well. So it's important to be to understand the security part as well, to make sure that prompt hacking will not happen and stuff like that. So even in my private life, I read a lot about this and study a lot about it. I think you also had an episode online about how important master data quality is, for example, for
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah, for AI adoption. So whenever there's any kind of automation, master data quality is always like the foundation, right? So you also need to make sure that works.
yeah, and I one of the things again that's pleasing for us is that with this rapid advancement of technology as it is in its current form, um, it really is getting companies to think about everything upstream. Where in the previous decade and before that, really, it was largely just sales, 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 and everything else can kind of be sorted out later. Now, because the speed of technology, AI, it produces outputs, huge amounts of data very quickly, and we stick with the old phrase that's been around for a long time, garbage in, garbage out, right? And it really does come
Indeed.
to master data, doesn't it? So I think the good thing about all this, and it comes back to your opening point about your operational experience, is you've really got to go upstream right to the core, and you've got to get that right first time, and then everything else kind of flows from that. So it is an exciting time, and genuinely I'm happy that actually the focus now really is on the whole kind of literally the quote to cash cycle, which is can only be a good thing for you guys as well, from say your expertise within Serrala. Um, yeah, and the whole AI thing, what we kind of we're not experts in it, of course, but what we see is that this is also very much a learning experience for us as well. There's so many things coming out of the AI side that because it moves so fast, we're kind of learning as we go along, aren't we? Things like volume bias and hallucinations and things like that, phrases that we didn't really have a year ago, which
Yeah,
is
exactly.
really now all of a sudden there's oh wow, that happens, so that kind of I imagine that's what's exciting for you as well, as you're, 3 or 4 years into this, but the next decade is going to be very much dominated by this. So, from your perspective, for you personally and Serrala, very exciting developments that are going to come. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. And I don't think anyone currently knows, where we will end up with AI.
yeah,
That's also very adventurous and exciting. But what I tell to all my colleagues and all my friends is just to use this, to use the tools, try them out, don't be afraid. Of course, don't put in any confidential data. That's not what I'm saying. But yeah, I imagine life will include these tools in your everyday business everyday, private life as well. It already does for a lot of people, so you,
Yeah.
you shouldn't ignore them.
It does, and we take it for granted. I mean, just an hour before we got together today, I booked a couple of flights. It took me 5 minutes, book the flights, the luggage, all the rest of it. I mean, that's advanced technology. When you think, going back not so far, booking a flight was a quite a painful process. Now, literally, I booked two flights in 5 minutes. So that's kind of where high volume, fast technology. That's one little example, yeah. And I think we have a lot of those that we just kind of take for granted now, don't we?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, and as the whole ecosystem will evolve with the MCP adoption in mind, so that for example, these airlines will build their, databases in a way that AI agents can easily access them and work together. That will open up all kinds of possibilities. And this is why I really enjoy, doing this job, because in the end, what we deliver is value, and what we deliver is freeing up time and effort and resources for people, even in their private life or in their business life. So this is
Mm,
good. Automation is good for both businesses and employees. So,
yeah.
and it's not a zero sum game. That's also one thing that a lot of people tend to forget, that when we free up these resources for the economy, more can be created, more can be invested. So that's why I like to work, because we deliver progress.
Absolutely. There are two sides to this. People don't have to do the boring side of things, the repetitive kind of work. Cash App is a great example.
Mhm.
The interesting part is the exceptions and the bits that still need research, communication with the customer, interpretation, reconciliation, all that kind of thing. So it's important to know with this fast moving tech, it's important to know its strengths, but it's also important to know its weaknesses as well, isn't it? And to embrace both, as you said just now, be able to embrace both. Yeah. So um, excellent, fascinating conversation. Thank you very much. Well, you certainly got many great things to do for, gosh, I don't know, the foreseeable future. So it's very, very exciting. Importantly, from your point of view and that of Serrala, how do we get in touch with you?
Thank you so much, first of all, for the opportunity and for the discussion. I enjoyed it very much as well. Definitely check out our website. Okay, so it's serrala.com. You can check out all the offerings we have, the products. You can also book a demo with our solution architect. So that's one thing. And of course, we are also present on LinkedIn. I'm also present on LinkedIn. So if you want to contact me personally, then you can also find me there.
Brilliant. Perfectly said. And that's a good place to end. Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure talking to you today.
Likewise, thank you.